I adjusted my tactical watch as I surveyed the 30-acre property I'd bought in the hills of Montana. At 62, after 20 grueling years as a Marine recon operator, this land was my hard-earned sanctuary, a place of peace, security, and the chance to build something lasting with my wife. The morning mist clung to the pine trees like silent guardians, and the only sound breaking the quiet was the distant cry of a hawk. This was everything I'd fought for through endless missions in hostile lands, a life where the shadows of war could finally fade. I'd seen the worst of humanity in those years, ambushes, betrayals on the battlefield that cost lives, and I'd survived it all with a mind sharpened like a blade, strategic, patient, and unforgiving to anyone who crossed me. My steel gray eyes still missed nothing, a habit drilled into me from countless ops. The scars on my hands whispered tales of close quarters combat, but it was my instincts that had always kept me alive. I'd met Sabrina Stark at a Veterans Charity Gala 5 years ago. She was 45, then a striking brunette with emerald eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest room. As a real estate agent specializing in luxury properties for high-end clients, she approached me that night saying she was captivated by my stories of service. Within 6 months, we were married. Sabrina seemed like the perfect partner, supportive as I transitioned to civilian life, excited about our move to Montana, and patient when my PTSD flared up. She even helped me launch my private security consulting firm, using her connections to land big clients. Our marriage felt like the American dream I'd earned after 2 decades of sacrifice. But I'd learned in the Marines that perfection is often a deadly illusion. The first cracks appeared 6 months ago. Sabrina started working late more often, blaming it on demanding new listings. Her phone, once left carelessly around the house, was now glued to her hand, password protected, and buzzing with notifications she quickly silenced. When I tried to get close to rekindle that intimacy, she'd brush it off with excuses of exhaustion or stress. These changes weren't explosive, but to a man trained in surveillance and threat assessment, they painted a clear pattern. At first, I chalked it up to my own paranoia, a leftover from combat where ignoring gut feelings got people killed. But last week, my instincts screamed louder when Sabrina announced a sudden business trip to Seattle. There was a slight waver in her voice as she mentioned the city flipping a switch in my operational mindset. That evening, while she packed, I dusted off the skills that had saved my life in Afghanistan and Iraq. As she showered, I snapped photos of her phone screen, committing recent calls and messages to memory with the tradecraft I'd honed in military intelligence. I slipped a discreet GPS tracker into her purse, not out of jealousy, but because 20 years of war had taught me that threats don't announce themselves. The tracker never left town. Instead, it pinged for 3 days at the Riverside Motel on the edge of our quiet Montana community. I drove by on the second day and spotted her white BMW in the lot. My training kept me from storming in. Intel always comes before action. Through the window, I saw her with Dennis Adams, a local police detective. He was 55, divorced, with a reputation for bending rules and eyeing higher office. He'd cornered me twice at town events, probing about my military days and dropping sly remarks about how tough small-town life must be for vets like me. Seeing my wife in his arms ignited a cold primal fury. Not the heartbreak of a fool, but the calculated rage of a survivor who'd learned that betrayal demands consequences. Standing on my property now as dawn crested the mountains, I felt the weight of an old mission stirring. I'd spent the week tailing them discreetly, mapping Adam's routines and Sabrina's habits. The picture was crystal clear. This wasn't a fling, but a months-long deception. My phone buzzed with her text, "Another late showing tonight. Honey, don't wait up. Love you." I smiled grimly. In 6 hours, she'd meet Adams at his secluded cabin 15 miles out. I'd scouted it already. Tonight, I'd gather the final intel. As I headed back to the house, a familiar calm settled over me, the kind that precedes victory. My wife and her lover had made a fatal mistake betraying a Marine recon operator who'd never forgotten that survival means neutralizing threats before they strike. Our perfect life was a lie, but I was about to craft a very real reckoning. Before we go any further, we'd love to hear where you're from in the world. Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more compelling stories of betrayal and revenge. I spent the morning in my home office, what used to be a simple den, now rigged like a makeshift ops center. I didn't have the raw speed of my younger days, but experience had taught me that preparation was the real weapon. I cleaned my old service pistol, checked the batteries in my night vision goggles, basic gear I'd kept from my recon days, and reviewed a hand-drawn map of Dennis Adams's cabin from memory. No fancy satellite imagery, just the fundamentals that had kept me alive through 2 decades of shadows. The routine steadied my pulse, turning the simmering rage into focused energy. Betrayal wasn't new to me. Teammates had sold out in the field before, but this cut deeper, twisting like a knife in the gut because it came from the one person I'd let past my defenses. By noon, Sabrina breezed in from her morning appointments, cheeks flushed, hair a touch disheveled. She pecked my cheek, her perfume laced with a foreign cologne I'd noted during my motel stakeout Adams. "How was the showing?" I asked, eyes fixed on my laptop to hide the storm inside. "Challenging clients," she said too quickly. "They want 3 more properties tonight. Might be late." I nodded, catching the fleeting relief in her eyes. She'd always been a lousy liar, but practice had sharpened her edge, not enough to fool me though. After she left for her afternoon meetings, I slipped into phase 2. Using old school tricks from military intel, I tapped into public records and a burner phone call, posing as a contractor to confirm Adams' schedule. The detective was ambitious, corrupt, and sloppy, a bad mix. He'd been probed twice for rough tactics and once for bribes, all swept under via local pull. At 4 p.m., I positioned myself at a ridge overlooking his cabin, an isolated spot in a forested valley off a dirt road. Perfect for secrets or a trap. Through binoculars, I watched Adams arrive at 5:30 Sabrina, 20 minutes later. Their embrace in the doorway hit like a gut punch, but I pushed down the emotion, focusing on patterns his gun left carelessly on the counter, her nervous glances at windows. They were blind to the world outside their lust. As dusk fell, I prepped to pull back with enough dirt for confrontation. But a metallic glint in the tree line froze me. A figure with pro-grade binoculars hunkered down like a pro. Not a local, the stance screamed training. Heart pounding with that old battlefieldy chill, I went prone, observing through my scope. He was prepping a suppressed rifle, eyes on the cabin. The puzzle snapped together. This wasn't just an affair. Sabrina and Adams were plotting my end for the insurance payout. I dug into her past quietly. 2 previous husbands dead in accidents. Adams had investigated cases closed fast with fat policies paid out. This was their game, and I was the next mark. Smiling coldly in the shadows, I realized their mistake, underestimating a veteran who'd turned survival into an art. Tonight's intel had just upgraded from divorce fodder to a Counterstrike blueprint. But as the stranger shifted position, I knew the real hunt was about to begin. The shot cracked through the night air just as I rounded the barn corner. The bullet zipping past my ear with that unmistakable, high-velocity whine splintering wood where my head had been a heartbeat ago. My body reacted on pure instinct, 20 years of recon muscle memory kicking in like a switch. I dropped low, rolling behind a concrete trough as a second round sparked off the rim, sending shards flying. The adrenaline surged sharp and familiar, flooding my veins with that icy clarity I'd felt in 100 ambushes. No panic, just calculations, subsonic ammo for silenced, suppressed rifle about 150 yards out based on the delay. The shooter was in the northern tree line overlooking my approach, a solid position but predictable. In the darkness, a grim satisfaction settled over me. This assassin had erred in ways my experience had taught me to exploit, staying static after the miss, opting for stealth over power and assuming I'd bolt like a civilian. But I wasn't some frightened retiree. I was a strategist who'd outthought death before. Heart pounding with controlled fury, I low-crawled toward my workshop using the terrain's dips and shadows for cover skills, honed in deserts and jungles where one wrong move meant the end. 2 more shots whiffed by, but I'd anticipated the lead zigzagging just enough to throw him off. This guy had marksmanship, but no real combat adaptability. He fired like a range shooter, not a survivor. Slipping into the workshop via the hidden side door I'd built years ago, I grabbed my suppressed M4 carbine and night vision gear within seconds. The weight felt like an old friend, transforming the Betrayal's raw ache into lethal focus. Through the green glow, I spotted his muzzle flash, a rookie's mistake that pinned his exact spot. Exiting the rear, I flanked wide, using the land's contours to close in silently. My breath steady, despite the emotional storm raging inside. How could Sabrina, the woman I'd trusted with my scars, orchestrate this? At 50 yards, I had him in optics, male tactical gear, fixated on my last position, expecting a desperate emergence. I closed to 20 before speaking low. Drop it. He spun, rifle whipping toward me, the final blunder. I fired twice center mass, the thuds dropping him silent as a shadow. The suppressed pops echoed only in my ears, a hollow victory that did nothing to soothe the betrayal's sting. Moving fast, I searched the body, no ID, but pro gear bought off the shelf, not military surplus. A hired gun, not a pro op. His phone's messages chilled me deeper. Target acquired, shot incoming. Copy, stages robbery. Then post-miss compromise, target evading. Backup. Abort, erase traces. Contacts control in S. Sabrina. Photos snapped, either I found an envelope, $20,000, cashiered a note in her familiar script. Half now, half on confirm, clean. The confirmation hit like a fresh wound, twisting grief and rage into resolve. This wasn't just cheating, it was calculated murder, echoing her 2 prior accidental widowhoods. Strategically, I staged the scene 1 round from his rifle to his head for my story body position, as if he'd ambushed me. Then texting her from his phone, target down. Meet at house for payment. Her reply pinged quick, on way, done. I typed back, see for yourself. As headlights pierced the night, I melted into position, the trap set. They were coming to gloat over my corpse, but what awaited them would rewrite their ending. From my concealed perch in the tree line, I watched Sabrina's BM pull up, tailed by Adam's unmarked cruiser, their headlights slicing the darkness like accusatory fingers. My heart thudded with a mix of cold fury and hollow sorrow, the woman I'd built a life with now arriving to confirm my death. Through night vision, their anxious postures screamed guilt. Elevated breaths, fidgety scans of the shadows. They expected a corpse, not this empty house with lights out, and the uncertainty gnawed at them visibly. Marcus, Sabrina called, her voice laced with feigned worry that twisted my gut. Honey, you okay? Got your text about trouble? Adams gripped his service pistol flashlight beam, darting inadequately, his moves straight from academy drills, amateur compared to real field work. I stayed statue still, activating a pocket recorder to capture every word, and as they neared the door. Something's off, Adonis muttered. Shooter said hit confirmed. We stage the robbery scene now, scatter some valuables, make it look random. And the payment, Sabrina pressed her tone hungry. We split the insurance clean after. Their casual plotting of my murder hit like bile rising, eroding any remnant of love into strategic resolve. No more illusions. This was war on home soil. As they headed to the barn, I dug deeper with basic tailing, intel I'd gathered 8 months of planning pieced from overheard calls and public records. Sabrina had targeted me through her real estate network, scouting vets with fat policies. Adams had buried her 2 prior husbands' accidents, local men's suspicious falls and crashes that netted payouts now under light FBI scrutiny for patterns. The web was small-town tight, but damning. Emotions surged, a flash of betrayal's ache, but I channeled it into action, slipping to their vehicles. With wire cutters from my kit, I snipped ignition lines manually, quick and silent, ensuring no escape. Then rigging simple speakers I'd hidden weeks ago for security drills, I amplified my voice from multiple angles. Advantage of what, detective? They froze, Adams whirling futilely, Sabrina pressing against the car in terror. Marcus, please, she begged. This isn't what it seems. Oh, it's worse, I echoed back, the speakers shifting direction to unsettle them. Not just betrayal, you planned my murder like the others. The psychological edge was mine, their isolation complete. Their panic spiked as engines sputtered dead, trapping them on my turf, where I knew every root and ridge. The cool mountain air bit at my skin, but inside a strategic calm held a firm, channeling the emotional torrent, betrayal's sharp sting into precise moves. I activated the basic speakers dotted along the forest trail, broadcasting faint engine rumbles to mimic approaching help, drawing them deeper, like flies to a web. They bolted toward the sound, whispering frantic escape plans. Main road's 2 miles, get cell signal, call backup. Sabrina's voice trembled. He knows this land. We'll never make it. Her assessment fueled my grim resolve. She'd finally glimpsed the predator she'd awakened. As they stumbled through the underbrush, I triggered motion lights I'd wired simply for perimeter alerts, illuminating a false path that looped them inward, not out. No explosions or gadgets, just clever misdirection, the kind I'd used in ops to herd enemies into kill zones. Disoriented, they followed the glow breaths ragged until they emerged in the central clearing, a natural bowl ringed by rises, my chosen arena for tactical drills. Floodlights snapped on, blinding them in the open while I lurked shadowed. Welcome to the end game, my amplified voice boomed from shifting directions, where operators like me turned tables on threats. Sabrina screamed, collapsing. Adams scanned futilely, pistol drawn but useless. The sight stirred a deep ache, 5 years of shared dreams shattered, but strategy overrode it. Evidence mounts, Sabrina. Not just tonight's hit, your 2 prior husbands, accidents, Adams buried for the payouts. FBI sniffing those patterns now. Silence fell heavy, their faces paling with realization. I needed confessions, not vengeance yet. Activating the recorder, I demanded, tell it all, names, dates, the whole scheme, or this clearing becomes your grave. Their eyes darted, breaking. The interrogation ignited. I emerged from the shadows into the floodlit clearing, clad in basic tactical gear, vest, carbine slung low, night vision, tucked away the weight, reminder of battles past, grounding the whirlwind of emotions churning inside. Rage mixed with a profound sadness, the kind that hollows you out after trusting so deeply only to face this abyss. Sabrina whimpered, backing against Adams. He raised his hand slowly, eyes wide at my unyielding stance. You're outgunned and outplayed, I said calmly. Rifle trained, steady, my voice cutting the night like a blade. Your only shot at sunrise is full cooperation. Start talking everything. Pocket recorder rolling. I extracted the truth, methodically probing like an interrogator, peeling layers. Over the next hour, the dam broke. 2 men murdered in 3 years, carefully chosen widowers with isolated lives and hefty insurance. Sabrina seduced them via her real estate gigs, gathering routines. Adams ran background checks to dodge scrutiny, then staged the accidents, a fall here, a crash there, ensuring clean closures and split payouts totaling over $1 million. My brother Kirk helped spot the policies. Adams admitted, sweat beading despite the chill, his voice cracking under pressure. He's an insurance, flagged the isolated ones for us. But he didn't know the full play. The confessions fueled my strategic calm, each detail, a puzzle piece locking their fate. But the emotional toll gnawed Sabrina's eyes, once full of promise, now mirrors of deceit. She collapsed to her knees, pleading, Marcus, I did love you at first. It started as a job, but it became real. I tried pulling out, but Dennis said we were in too deep. Her words echoed our wedding vows, twisting the knife deeper, yet I saw the manipulation for what it was, a last-ditch ploy. Adams jumped in desperately. I can give more accounts, contacts, how we laundered it. Just let us walk. Their offers tempted, but strategy dictated closure. I'd call the authorities once I had it all taped, turning their web against them legally. With their confessions taped and the clearing heavy with the scent of pine and fear, I felt a strategic shift settle in the raw edge of personal justice, tempered by the need for airtight closure. No vigilante squad. That path led to chaos I'd seen unravel abroad. Instead, I dialed my old commander, Warren Lambert, a steadfast ally from my recon days, now retired nearby at 75, but sharp as ever. Warren needs you here fast as witness, not backup, I said, voice low to mask the emotional quake inside the betrayal's echo still reverberating like distant thunder. He arrived within the hour alone, his weathered presence, a quiet anchor eye scanning the scene with the tactical acuity we'd shared in foxholes. Sabrina and Adams, bound loosely with zip ties from my kit, wilted under the added scrutiny. Lambert's arrival prompted more probing, Kirk's role spill it clean. Adams cracked, further admitting his brother had flagged local insurance marks through database access, enabling the 2 prior hits all contained to Montana's backroads. No sprawling syndicate, but enough for FBI interest in unsolved accidents. The details fueled my cold resolve, a deep-seated ache for the lives they'd stolen, mingling with satisfaction at the web's unraveling. Sabrina's pleas turned desperate. Marcus, this wasn't me. It grew out of control. But her words rang hollow, strategic lies I'd learned to dissect long ago. Lambert nodded grimly, recorder still rolling. This stays legal, he murmured. Call the feds, let them handle the mop-up. I agreed, declaring my own code aloud. Justice isn't vengeance, it's accountability on my terms. Dialing the FBI tip line anonymously, first I set the wheels turning, the trap evolving from personal reckoning to official takedown. As Lambert kept watch over the bound pair in the clearing, I retreated to my workshop, the night's revelations churning like a storm in my chest. Betrayal's bitter taste now laced with the grim satisfaction of peeling back layers. Strategy demanded more than confessions. I needed the full scope to seal their downfall legally. Using basic hacks from my recon toolkit, a clone SIM to skim local emails via public Wi-Fi traces I'd set up earlier, I delved into Adams' digital trail. No deep web dives, just surface scraps, forwarded policy docs, cryptic notes on marks. The pieces clicked, not a vast conspiracy, but a tight local knot. Kirk Ballard as the insurance scout, plus 1 crooked deputy, Harlan Reed, who'd helped fudge reports on suspicious deaths. Heart heavy with the weight of uncovered graves, I uncovered 12 vague cases over 3 years. All Montana locals, accidents, with insurance windfalls, patterns the FBI had flagged but buried in small-town bureaucracy. The emotional toll hit hard. These weren't faceless stats, but echoes of my own near-miss lives snuffed for greed that mirrored the senseless losses I'd witnessed in war. Yet the intel sharpened my resolve, a strategic map to dismantle it clean. I couldn't go rogue. Activation meant leveraging trusted ties. Dialing another old recon buddy, Jax Harlan, no relation to the deputy, a steadfast vet living nearby, I briefed him quickly. Jack's eyes on this pass to your FBI contact. Local ring, solid proof incoming. He confirmed, relay the wheels turning towards official justice, my pulse steadying with the thrill of a well-laid counterstrike. As dawn's first light pierced the Montana mountains, painting the clearing in golden hues, a symbol of renewal. After the darkest night, I stood before Sabrina and Adams, their faces etched with defeat. The air felt crisp, charged with finality, my heart a turbulent sea of resolved anger and emerging peace. Sabrina's eyes met mine, tears streaming. "Marcus, please," she whispered, voice breaking. "I loved you once. It was real at the start. We can fix this. I'll testify, turn it all around." Her plea stirred a faint echo of our shared past, but it dissolved in the cold light of truth her manipulation laid bare. Adam snarled, his composure cracking. "You think you're a hero? This ends you too. I'll drag you down in court and expose every PTSD episode as instability." His threat hung empty, a desperate bark from a cornered dog. But wisdom had replaced youthful fury. I didn't need brute strength to win this war. Strategy and restraint were my true arsenal. When Adams lunged for his drop pistol, I fired a warning shot into the dirt, the crack echoing like judgment. "Enough," I commanded, securing them tighter with Lambert's help. No executions. Justice demanded light, not shadows. I called the FBI, directly relaying the taped confessions and digital trails, Kirk's insurance flags. Reed's fudged reports, the dozen local accidents now exposed. Agents swarmed within hours, cuffing them away, the local ring crumbling like a house of cards. The weight lifted, a profound freedom washing over me. The chains of deception shattered, leaving space for a brighter horizon. Staying on my property as the sun rose fully, I reflected on the ordeal. Betrayal had tested me, but survival forged wisdom, turning loss into liberation. The dream of a perfect life was gone, but in its place bloomed a future unburdened, rich with hard-won peace. The war never truly ends for men like me. It evolves into guardianship of one's own soul. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel right now. Don't miss out on more tales of triumph over betrayal. Hit that notification bell. Share your own story of resilience below to inspire our community, and click the video on screen for the next gripping revenge saga. Let's build strength together. What is your takeaway from Marcus's journey? Comment now.